What's going on, friends? Say, how you feeling? How you living? You in the mood for a collection update? 'Cause that's about all I got in me right now. Thank you for watching and your continued support as always. You know, just the typical collection update. The thing about collection updates that I'm like slightly reluctant to do them, even though it's like kind of the main thing to do. It's easy. It's, you know, it's out of laziness that you kind of do it. But what I guess personally why I would prefer to have something else to do if I had no life or, you know, other things going on, is that this stuff is just stuff that I bought, and I'm giving you my hot take on it in the moment because it's when I bought it. But some of the stuff that I've gotten in recently, not really necessarily hugely in the mood for. I've been really, I don't know, in a mood. Nothing's going on or anything. Work's been kind of stressful or whatever, but I'm just kind of like burned out on a lot of stuff. Been really like picky on what I've been listening to, so some stuff just kind of hasn't been like fucking doing it for me like it does 98% of the time. Oh, you know, on other times. But so some of this stuff, I may give you a hot take on it, and you know, maybe months or years from now down the road, when I double dip on some of this stuff, I'll be way into it at that time. So just bearing that in mind, I don't know. Take that for what you will. What we're listening to is this infernal noise. Whoa! Is infested with hellfuck. This is a fun, childish, dumb, satanic kind of thing. I've heard this billed probably by Marty as Sweden's answer to Deicide, which is pretty apt, especially considering how just utterly 1,000,000% satanic it is at all times. But it's Dan Svano doing all the music with Andreas Axelsson on vocals. I mean, it's generic, and certainly for its time period, it was recorded at the time that there were a ton of bands doing this, like, seriously, but this is kind of partially, like, tongue-in-cheek, I feel like. This is lowbrow for Dan Svano, and, like, I really don't understand why he was spending his time doing this, but dude's a riff master. I love Dan Svano, and it's kind of especially weird because I think of Dan Svano as being one of the greatest death metal vocalists there ever were, so to have somebody else do vocals on an otherwise solo project, I don't know. But that's what's going on. Just tons of dumb satanic fun in the background. So once again, yeah, more vinyl than CDs, and I don't know, I kind of feel like I don't have a lot of stuff. Like I usually have, like, here's my CDs, here's my LPs, but I don't know, I've got some stuff. Don't have a lot of stuff coming in right now, but whatever. So we'll just kind of, grab and go, and, you know, walk up to the buffet and sample a little bit and put stuff back and see where we land. First off, we'll start off here. Adolf Satan. One of the best band names you're ever going to get. I have been a fan of these guys for a really long time, and never managed to pick up a copy of any of their stuff. It's kind of pricey. They did a full length that was self-titled back in, I don't know, I'm going to guess maybe like 2000, I don't know, it could be 98, 03, somewhere around there. But these guys were East Coast band, and they play like, just kind of like stepping in all the borders. Like, I don't know, there's a little bit of punkiness, a little bit of sludginess, a little bit of metal, but like you can't really call it any of those things. It's too fast to be sludgy, too just like downtrodden and just dirty to be metal, I guess. And that's kind of what I like about it. But like the riffs are killer. If you're familiar at all with Upside Down Cross but not Adolf Satan, that would be weird because I kind of think of them as brethren, which they are, Larry Lifeless is one of my absolute favorite singers. He has this way of sounding just so fucking downtrodden and waterlogged and just fucking wrecked. It just sounds so desperate, and I feel like he's bringing a lot more reality to the sound that a lot of people are attempting to sound like in metal. It just sounds so fucking grimy and filthy and just raw and gross. I'm sure that dude's apartment just looks like absolute garbage. May he rest in peace. This is Josh Martin from 1AC. I'm gonna censor myself just for the fuck of it. Limited Appeal put this out in an edition of 287 copies, hand numbered. Thank you, Jason Hook, for alerting me of this awesome record's presence. What they did was, this is just kind of like a demos thing. They did demo versions of the album songs. They didn't have a lot of material, so just a black LP. I kind of like this DIY packaging. It's just a black, no labels, insert, and they just like printed off these stickers that they labeled onto these white jackets. Super limited. It's not like there's going to be a million people chomping at the bit to buy copies of this thing. It's probably just like, let's see, how many Adolf Satan fans are there out there that want a copy of this thing? Probably 287. Let's do it. There you go. But I love Adolf Satan. I listen to them actually more often than you might think. The riffs are so good. There you go. Moving on. Here. So, back when the COVID shutdown started happening, like the day after I found out, was that when I might be messing up my timelines here, so I won't go into that, but I believe it was when I first figured out that my job would pay me no matter what happened, whether I got quarantined or laid off or anything. I was guaranteed an income. That was when I was like, alright, fuck it, let's order some goddamn records. And so, like, that very morning I woke up and there was a new Ruins of Beverast split with Morning Beloved. And I listened to it, and I ordered the fuck out of both the 10-inch and the CD copy of it. One song from each. I don't know, packaging wise, this isn't really much. I still can't really figure out what this is. This kind of reminds me of like not Akira. What's that movie? Harakiri. Is that like a samurai guy standing? I don't know. Comes with a poster. I just kind of think this like beige off-white shit is just kind of uninteresting, especially for like band records and their aesthetic. But it comes in a sleeve, and then it comes in a sleeve. I don't know. You get anything out of looking at this shit? Red vinyl, but man, the song is really good. I guess I would say this feels like kind of a less heavy song for Ruins of Beverast. It's got a lot of more like kind of mournful, clean, chugging tones to it than their usual stuff. But it's good. I've heard a lot of good things about Morning Beloved, but I'm very unfamiliar. But it is a good pairing for the bands, and their song is really, really good. So I'm looking forward. If you know what Morning Beloved release I should start with outside of this one, let me know. At first, the guys' clean vocals were a little like, whoa, that's kind of too dead on the nose, and I'm used to listening to clean vocalists who like sound a little more unique or different, or I don't know. He just kind of sounds like a normal rock music singer or something. But he's good. It was a nice emotive kind of track. I don't know why I ordered both. I was just kind of feeling like, let's get rid of this money. By the way, if you're into kittens, they're in a playing mood right now, going kind of fucking buck wild. Let's get this out of the way, I guess. Crypt was having a sale. Actually, I think I ordered this before the sale. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I've kind of always wanted to get a copy of this. I see this kind of floating around here and there, and I'm getting more and more interested in early iterations of proto-black metal, proto-black and death metal, especially from countries and scenes and styles that I'm not really that familiar with. So Tor were a Czech band who came up alongside Master's Hammer, and I had another band that I was going to throw in with Master's Hammer, and I don't have it. It's one of those things where once you hit record, certain parts of your brain just go, nope. Anyways, this didn't really do it for me. There's some parts that are really rad, and then there's parts that just make me go, that part was rad, but the rest of it, really not feeling it. So, I don't know. I have been listening to kind of more old school, traditional heavy metal kind of stuff, so you would think that something so primitive would click more with me than usual. But it's missed its mark. I'm not going to shit talk it, but it's sitting there waiting for me when I'm in the mood. Let's just put it that way. So anyways, yeah, speaking of Crypt, Crypt had a sale for a couple of days. I think it was like 25% off. And like, I usually have a couple things queued up in my head that I want to get from Crypt, waiting for the next sale, whether it's Dark Descent or straight through the Crypt. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on a few things that I had been meaning to pick up for quite some time. The first one being this Delirium. I think another label, I think Memento Mori actually released this on CD, and I was trying to find it on CD rather than LP, but I wound up just picking it up on LP, and I really don't mind. It's on red vinyl. You've all seen red vinyl before. But as you know, another quality release from the Crypt. This is so good. So I was under the impression that this, by the way, it's called Zoo. I was under the impression that this band and this release was a lot more avant-garde, weird, experimental, bizarre. Then I wound up thinking it was. I really, really loved it, but I don't think it was nearly as odd as I was expecting it to be. Two reasons. One, my buddy Wayne from Conjureth, Golgotha, etc., speaks highly of this record, and he usually doesn't bother touting an album unless he really, really loves it and it's like kind of left of center. So when he does talk about a band, I'm usually like, either I know it and I love it, or I'm like, what is that? So somehow I missed out on this. This originally came out, fuck, I'm gonna have to look at this. I really have no idea when these were originally recorded. Very early. This album was recorded and produced in August 1990. So this is very, very early stuff out of Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's any insert here. Anyways, style-wise, it is very simplistic, and it's not very odd. I spun it twice, and really, really, really liked it, but it's just kind of run-of-the-mill, normal kind of stuff. It's very Hellhammery, Celtic Frosty kind of stuff, simplistic, chugging kind of riffs, but it's good. As you might know, I don't really care for Hellhammer or Celtic Frost as riffs. You know, I'd be lying if I didn't say that part of it was the hype keeping me kind of away from Celtic Frost and shit like that. And having met Tom Moyer, like, dude was a douche. I just get a fucking terrible vibe from the dude. But I get there is a lot to be said for simplicity, and there's less is more sometimes, but his riffing style in both of his bands are just fucking meathead. Just too meathead for me to really get my head around. But this stuff is good. Delirium. Zua. I believe there's some tacked on extra stuff. I think there's some live stuff, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. I forget. That was a really big surprise, though. Like, it was kind of a curveball because I was expecting one thing and I wound up really liking it, but it was just different than what I expected. Anyways, another thing that I had been wanting to pick up, and you should be wanting to pick up also from Dark Descent, is this Catacomb in the Maze of Kadath / Lurker at the Threshold. So I'm blanking on where these guys are from. want to say France, but I want to say I'm wrong. Anyways, very, very early death metal band. Didn't really come up with much other releases than the stuff that's compiled on here. There's just those 2 EPs. One has 5 songs, one has 4 songs. But I really, really dug this. It's super primitive and like kind of gothy, synthy kind of sounding. But it's just murky and really Tolkien-ish. Not Tolkien, god damn it. I just made like the worst nerd faux pas ever. This obviously is fucking Lovecraft. Dude, not cool. There's the cover for Liquid Threshold. But, you know, Dark Symphony is just, I mean, praise Satan for their existence, but he has this way, Ted Tringo, of finding the best stuff that I've never heard of. In fact, tonight, I really gotta stop doing this. I was listening to, seems like I fucking buy these things and then I go on to the next album that I don't have. I listen to something that I don't fucking have and then I go, this is really good, I want it. Just like all the other stuff that I don't listen to. Fuck. I don't know what it is. It's just like that grass is greener on the other side kind of shit. Anyways, I was listening to Chemical Breath, which is another Dark Descent release, and it was fucking amazing. So there's the next thing I'm going to be buying on Dark Descent. A couple live streams ago, seems like we always fucking wind up talking about Slayer, and I don't know. When I first heard Slayer, I was 19 years old. I had already heard all the 90s black metal and death metal kind of stuff, and my friends were not into Slayer really at all. So someone played me Rain and Blood, I think it was, and I lost my goddamn mind. I loved it. But not too long after that, I discovered German thrash metal, and I got pretty burned out on boring thrash bands. And I just decidedly was like, you know what? Slayer kind of blows. And I'm not holding that opinion whatsoever, but I'm slowly starting to reconsider their discography. So Marty mentioned that Show No Mercy was an essential, and I found it for pretty cheap. Metal Blade reissued these and remastered them back in the day. I'll probably wind up getting Hell Awaits. I owned that back in the day, and I just remember getting that and being like, this is fucking boring compared to Rain and Blood, which I liked at the time. So, I don't know. I just think it's really important to have stuff like this in my collection, whether I love it or not, because someday I'm gonna read an interview with some band, and I'm gonna think like, huh, that guy was nuts about this album. Let me check it out again. And when you kind of approach an album from a different perspective than you're used to, sometimes that can just make all the difference and make you fall in love with an album like this, which is important. Let's just not kid ourselves here. I don't know, another vinyl here. Borknagar, The Archaic Course. This is one of those early records that came out when I was like chomping at the bit for it to come out. It seemed like when I got into metal that all the good stuff had already come out. And you know, I could agree with that sometimes. But I loved the Borknagar debut. The Old Domain, I've always kind of been like on the fence about that one. It's something else. I don't know. I loved it when it first came out, but over time I've just kind of like, I don't know. I probably haven't listened to it in 5 or 10 years or so. This one, however, was totally different for me. And this, I think, was the first time I'd ever heard Simon Hesney's singing. And I fucking love this record. Simon Hesney's, of course, is a big reason that I love this record, but also the drumming of Eric Broadskrift on here. But the songwriting also is just amazing. There's a lot of like great Hammond organ kind of synth work on it that I really, really like, and it gets played with me pretty often. And so like the thought of having it on vinyl, pretty cool, especially this splatter merge or whatever. I keep seeing that Cosmic Key Creations is doing these killer reissues of good stuff, but I don't think anybody's was distributing their stuff in the States, so I didn't want to pay a bunch of money to get this stuff here. But I did discover that Miami Metal Merchant is apparently taking pre-orders for a lot of overseas releases that wouldn't otherwise get distributed here. Now, COVID-19 might fuck all that to hell, so don't take my word entirely. But Cosmic Creed's doing good stuff, and this is just it's fun to be a part of celebrating an album that I think not a lot of people pay attention to. This band's early work is so buried by a shit ton of mediocre, proggy, stupid, fucking boring albums that I've never been a fan of. Even, I bought that Winter Thrice album, and I think I talked about it in my random grabs video even, but like, none of that stuff holds any water to the Archaic Chorus or the debut. This band's discography has just been kind of a roller coaster for me, but this one and the debut for me are really, really good. After that, they really lost me. But yeah, there you go. One of my favorite YouTubers, Future Ruins, was talking about this, and I fucking ordered the fuck out of it. I've been hyping this album pretty fucking hard since my buddy Dave sent me a copy of this. Utratomb is one of the top 5 death metal bands, like new school, old school kind of bands coming out today. I fucking love these dudes. I've always thought this looked like In the Nightside Eclipse. Isn't this like a tribute to In the Nightside Eclipse in a way? There's like this castle. I don't know. It also kind of looks like Left Hand Path in a way, but it sounds a lot like Left Hand Path. While we're on the topic, yeah, these guys are just fucking beefy. They bring the fucking oomph. The vocalist is a goddamn monster. I think it's on Black Vinyl. Yeah. But this was kind of hard to find in the States for cheap. Hell's Headbangers got a heavy dose of them in recently, and I love this fucking record. Thank you, Jimmy, for alerting me to its arrival in the States. I love this record, man. So my buddy Dave sent me a copy of it on tape. Don't re-sleeve on camera. And I bought it on CD, and I fucking loved it. And I've just been kind of salivating for the vinyl version of it ever since then. Several live streams ago, we welcomed on a very cool dude, Ken Escobeta of Ken's Death Metal Crypt. Maybe 2 years ago or so, I discovered his channel, and Ken does these obscure uploads, kind of like the Crypt does, just pulling these killer old school death metal kind of classics from obscurity, and he uploads them to YouTube. And I just love that he is archiving and curating lots of killer underground death metal from the United States for perpetuity. I just think that's so fucking cool. And we had him on the stream a couple of streams ago, and it was so fun kicking it with Ken. Ken wound up sending me his band, Unnatural. He sent me their full length, The Path to Ruin, as well as just like a burned CDR of their most recent releases, which are, I believe, now sold out. I should look into that and make sure that they are sold out, because if not, I'm gonna get them. So, at first, I kind of wasn't feeling this one. By the way, this is Ken, the vocalist, and all the music is written by Ted Van Tilburg, who was formerly in Morgue, and Eroded Thoughts is one of my fucking favorite Midwest death metal records of all time. Killer. If you don't know Morgue or Eroded Thoughts, stop this video, look it up. Anyways, Unnatural, and this is their full length with 5 tracks, maybe kind of a short EP. I just kind of wasn't feeling it. It's very primitive, very just stripped down to the fucking bone. Everything about it is absolute guttural brutality. But the music was just a little more simplistic than I was in the mood for. Like I said, lately I've been kind of all over the map listening to kind of proggy stuff, experimental kind of stuff, just whatever. So I just kind of wasn't in the mood for something like that. It reminded me of a lot of, like, it sounds very Midwestern. It sounds, in fact, almost like a Milwaukee band or a Chicago band. If you're not from the Midwest, you might not quite understand that distinction. but it sounds like very Midwest death metal to me. But then I put in this, and this raised my eyebrows a lot more. I think these dudes are putting out killer death metal that deserves your attention. Not much to look at, obviously, but I so appreciate that he like hand drew with a Sharpie the logo. That's fucking cool. Ken, I appreciate this, and I look forward to what you guys are doing in the future, because they get, like, this is their first release. They get better and better and better. So the next thing I feel like is going to be fucking awesome. Ken said in the stream that he is just cooped up in quarantine, just being creative at every fucking second, just churning out lyrics and songs and stuff like that. So I hope there's going to be like a double disc concept album or something coming out of this from Unnatural. But yeah, thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. And check out Unnatural for sure. Couple of kind of old school classics that you would think would be in my collection, but they haven't been. And we'll get to them in a minute. I want to get this out of the way first because I don't want to leave this for the end of the video. Blaze Foley is a Texas singer-songwriter. Sadly passed away in 1989, and my buddy Austin of Panopticon got me into this guy. And he's slowly over the years grown near and dear to my heart. I listen to this band's sad acoustic country music maybe on a weekly basis. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's so fucking real that I have to shut it off. But his stuff is really hard to come by. And Ethan Hawke did a movie, like a biography kind of movie about Blaze Foley, so I think attention for Blaze Foley is kind of starting to finally come around. So this was reissued. This was last issued on CD in 1989, and this is the first time it's been in print on vinyl. This is a Record Store Day release that didn't happen because COVID-19, but this is super cool. This is one of his last live recordings. He just used to frequent this bar called the Outhouse, the Austin Outhouse. So this is a collection of songs. So his music is best when it's just lonely and sad. And some of his stuff is like kind of jam bandy kind of stuff where he's got like horns and strings behind him. But I love Blaze Foley most when it's just him and a sad sounding guitar. And that's why I love this recording so much. But this is a killer release because it also comes with a replica 7-inch of the Zephyr Records 45. There's a documentary about Blaze Foley out a couple years ago, and so you'll know how funny it is that it comes with a copy of this if you've seen that documentary. It's a really killer movie, really killer artist. I don't know how I'm going to sell you a bunch of metalheads on this country singer, but I'm trying. If you're into Colder Wall, shit like that, this guy is also great. So 2 or 3 years ago when I was up visiting Austin from Panopticon, I thought I had heard all the Blaze Foley stuff that I needed to hear, but he put on this record while we were having dinner, and I was so distracted by how great it was, because it was these renditions of Blaze Foley songs that I had never heard before, and they were somehow better than I had ever heard them played and recorded and mixed. And that was a bootleg LP that he had paid something like $175 for. So like I had been like eyeballing and pining for that release ever since then, and hadn't been able to hear it at all. So finally it's back in print. This is Clay Pigeons. So this is my favorite Blaze Foley release. $15 from what is it called? I don't know. I will link it below. Some distro, end of an ear, out of Texas, is selling both of these for I think $15. Bonus 45 in that one. So that's a great price. Anyways, I'm just so stoked to have this back in print. Finally have a copy of this because I had actually considered spending nearly $200 for this fucking thing. Just black vinyl, no insert. This is just, yeah, this is, if I were to say this is the Blaze Foley album, this would be it. I absolutely love these versions of these songs. It's also kind of, it's mixed and mastered in a way that makes the different posthumous recordings sound kind of seamless in a way. And I really like that about it. It's got quite a few songs on it, too. His songs are kind of short, 3-4 minutes or so. Anyways, enough of that country music and back to the metal. So, like, 2 weeks ago or so, maybe it was a week ago, I don't know. I got on a fucking... No, it was probably like 3 weeks ago. I got on an Omen kick by listening to Warning of Danger. And man, I listened to that album probably 4 times in one day, 2 times the next day. I got a little sick of it, and I decided I need to get the other 2 Omen albums. I have Battle Cry on the way. I accidentally fucking ordered Warning of Danger again. So, a copy of that is headed your way, Dave. But I did also pick up The Curse. My fucking mailman fucked this thing up all to hell. And ordinarily I wouldn't be all that bummed, but this cover art looks so good on this glossy digipack, but it's just fucking wrecked by a mailman who is definitely tortured by all the shit I buy. Old school Metal Blade logo on there. But man, Omen were a band, and I talked about them a little bit in that Manowar video. Got the Nightmares EP with it. No artwork for you. I don't know. I always ascribed like a certain amount of cheesiness to this band, and thought like, yeah, it's fun, cheesy heavy metal, but somehow, for some reason, it just clicked with me, being as real as it ever was. I was able to just enjoy this album for exactly what it was, as if nothing had gone on since this came out in 1986 or so. But yeah. Well, Infested is over with. Put something else on. Alright, Infested is over with, so now it's on to Mortuary Blackened Images. I got to see these guys live last year, and it was fucking fun. So yeah, Omen kills. Check out Omen if you're into fucking Warlord, Vanilla Road, Iron Maiden. Honestly, 7 days out of 10, maybe 8, I would rather listen to Omen than Iron fucking Maiden. I love Iron Maiden. I'm not the hugest fan, but I think they're fucking amazingly talented. A couple of videos ago, like the last From the Vaults, I was talking about Goat Lord, and the very next day, this shows up in my mailbox, and I forgot that I had ordered it. I paid €5 for this fucking thing just because it has a couple skips on the disc. I've played it through, and it doesn't skip. So yeah, this is the self-titled record. So this is, I think, Reflections of the Solstice with a bonus track added onto the beginning and remastered and new vocals, if I'm not mistaken. But fucking love this. Threw that on, and I think I listened to it 2 or 3 times in a row. Really loud. You would also think that I would have this in my collection already, but I don't. I didn't. Until my buddy Dave talked me into picking up a copy of this, Lugbers. So, this has a lot more in common with Abigor than it does Summoning, to get that out of the way. And it's very, very weird because it has a real drummer on it. And I think of Summoning as having like very, very minimalistic, kind of almost tribal electronic percussion to it. And this just sounds like a band. This is a lot more riffy than a lot of Summoning stuff is. I don't think of Summoning necessarily as a band in a room writing songs. I think of them as this kind of cosmic ethereal entity, more, existing in the fantasy realm of the mind than actual human beings writing songs. And so, like, this is wholly different than anything else Summoning has ever done. But that being said, it's a really killer 90s black metal record. The drums are very, very weird on it. It's not just because it sounds out of place. There's something about the mix of it. In fact, I don't know, has this been remastered or something? Another reason I refrained from picking it up is that a buddy of mine told me he would give me his collection a couple years ago. So I've been holding off on picking up a copy of this because I know he has it. So if and when he eventually does give me his whole collection, we're going to have a lot of doubles to sell off or give away to buddies. So treat me right. Next and last, Tormentor, the 7th Day of Doom. Can't remember what got me on the kick with this, but I've been a fan of this fucking thing for years. I love how clumsy and just gnarly sounding it is. The tone on it sounds like shit. The warbly guitar is recorded on like DAT tape. There's a lot of nuance to be appreciated on this, and in some ways, for me personally, I think it probably outshadows the actual quality of the songwriting. But this is definitely, and I didn't really realize it until I started listening to it again tonight, and I watched some of the live DVD that comes with this. This is an absolute template for what Niflheim does. And I've been kind of thinking, like, Niflheim, I haven't listened to them in a long time. I need to get around to finishing out their discography. So, I don't know, maybe next video that might happen. You can get this for $13 from Season of Mist in America. So this is a remaster reissue with a bonus DVD. And it's just killer, like, proto-black metal kind of thrash stuff. It's got some really, really funny footage on here where Attila is in tight jeans and little baby spikes. It's so adorable. But there's some killer footage on there too of them over the years, like also like 3 shows, 86, 87, and maybe 88 or so. But anyway, you should know Tormentor. So that's all I got for now. We're all caught up, and I can go eat some ice cream. Thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next time.